It's Dr. Youth at manualtherapist.com. So these are my 5 basic go-to resets pre-run and pre-workout. The first thing I'll look at is for my asymmetries, and I have a history of asymmetries that I work on. And if I'm not working on one enough, I tend to lose the mobility. So just to make my movement as symmetrical as possible, I'll do some resets. And we know that basically once we do something like a reset or any kind of manual technique, you'll have about 1 to 2 hours of symmetrical movements. All right, so the first thing I'll check is the symmetry of my ankle mobility, the half nail ankle dorsiflexion. So that's not as good as it should be. And actually that is a little limited as well. So normally I can get right to the wall with my left. So I'll just do about 10 to 20 then. Repeated ankle plantar flexion with a little bit of inversion. A little bit of inversion, you can get just a slight more end range, and for me it's a mild yellow light. I just get just a little bit of pull, not really any kind of pain, goes right away when I'm done. I'll recheck closer, but no cigar. So the next reset would be to improve ankle dorsiflexion and tibial IR. I would have done a quick tibial IR check if I was in 90-90 sitting. You can even tell on this side, I tend to want to supinate on my right side. But yeah, I would have checked that in sitting. But knowing that, once I wrap it up, you can really get a great IR with this. Now I'm much closer. And after about maybe 10 or 20 of these, most of my dorsiflexion should be back.
Yeah, exactly. You warm up.
Really?
Oh yeah. Heel came up just a little bit, but you want to make sure that when you're doing this, I see a lot of people, especially when they're doing an IR twist, that they tend to jut their hip out. You want to have a straight line of drive with this when you're doing a dorsiflexion. So this is one of the quick things I check for IR. Obviously, I know how to check IR, but when I tell my runners, you can just do a quick check for this. And I've actually been working on that. So my IR is pretty even, but if you see like the wag, the dog kind of sign, if your tail is wagging a bit, then you have a loss of IR. So I also check passive hip flexion. And again, I've been working on this, so I haven't had to reset it in a while. But if my passive hip flexion is getting like an FAI type impingement anteriorly, the reset is just a repeated hip flexion. Because you can get to repeat. Most people have a loss of hip extension, but not flexion. It's just one of those resets that, because you can get to end range in this direction, and it's often not painful. For me, it's just a mild yellow light again. I can proceed with caution as long as it's temporarily uncomfortable. You can also add a little abduction in ER to get a little bit further. But again, I haven't worked on that. I've been working on that for a while, especially with doing a lot of breathing and some PRIs, corrective techniques, and I haven't had to do that. But that works very, very well. The next check is, I'm going to look at whether I have limited trunk rotation. Normally for me, it's limited to the right. So if it is limited to the right, normally I'm pretty good. FN to the left. I don't know, is that FN? And to the right, I normally get DN right about here. But again, I've been working on this. If it is asymmetrical, let's do some thoracic whips to that side. Typically my side is more limited to the right. You want to make sure that your hands are on your sternum and that you're not just doing scapular retraction.
What we did last time is I just put it right next to my side of the bed, a little bassinet.
So after about 10 of those, I recheck.
And she's like, I don't know how you're getting back to it. Doesn't fit into his car because it was like
rotation is better. Usually goes from DN to FN real quick. Now, my MRE patterns, again, I've been working on them. They've been much, much better before. Around last year, they were only about here. Right side's doing better than left. Left side, passively, I can go up to here, but that's a DP, passively. Actively, I'm only about to here. So my previous resets, and one of my favorites, which works amazingly well for most shoulder patients as long as they don't have a lot of instability or anterior instability, is that repeated shoulder extension.
was another secret.
So I recently had a patient who couldn't squat, and what we found was that I thought 12 ballistic whips work great for thoracic spine.
Oh, right.
Why
That
not
was
the shoulder?
secret. No, this wasn't a secret. I just had no idea what was going on there. I don't know. She had a whole thing set
And even though she was in her late 60s, she actually
up.
said, that feels really good.
She's learning.
When you have twins.
And now I'm better, and it barely hurts. So that's now my new go-to, and I've been messing around with that. It may not work quite as well as doing it on a fixed surface in terms of getting to that end range. But I feel like it's actually more comfortable, and you don't need a counter, you don't need a doorway. So I want you guys to kind of mess around with those ballistic whips. You just want to make sure that you're not going into abduction, you're just going into a little bit of IR and extension. And you want to do it as fast as you can to really get to end range. And obviously you can instruct them on a yellow light, but my normal loss of IR, that's also much better without having to protract my scapula after that. So those are my 5 pre-workout resets. Literally takes me, like maybe 2 to 3 minutes.